Well, I'm back. I'm back for some more. If you're listening to me, then you came back too. So, yay! Let's find out what happens to Black Beauty in Chapter 3, titled Birtwick Park. In early May, my master sold me to Squire Gordon, who lived in a place called Birtwick Park. I was sad to leave my owner, but he patted me softly and said, "Goodbye, Blackie." Squire Gordon had a large country home. The stables where I lived was big enough for 4 stalls. That means 4 horses could stay there comfortably, and had a large swinging window which opened into the yard. In my stall, I was never tied up, and I could move around as much as I pleased. This was very important to me. The stall was clean and airy. Did you ever know that Aunt Sarah / Liam's mom used to clean stables because she wanted to ride horses so badly, and we didn't have the kind of money that it took to get her riding lessons. So she would go out and she would clean up the poop in the stalls so they would be clean and airy for the horses. And in exchange for that, she would get to ride. So there you go, a little piece of history in the middle of a piece of history. After I had eaten my first meal in my new home, I looked into the stall next to mine. There stood, I should have adjusted this ahead of time. I wanted you to be able to see the book. There stood a fat gray pony with a thick mane and a tail, a very pretty head, and a pert little nose. I put my head up to the wall and said, "How are you, and what is your name?" He turned around and said, "My name is Merrylegs. I am very handsome. I carry the young woman on my back, and sometimes I take our mistress out in the low carriage. Everyone likes me. Are you going to live next to me?" I said, "Yes." "Well then, I hope you are a good-tempered horse and do not bite." Just then another horse's head looked over from another stall. This was a tall chestnut mare whose ears were laid back and whose eyes looked angry. First, this is a picture of the very handsome mare. Good looking horse, okay. The chestnut mare, on the other hand, looked angry. I didn't take the time to see what that says, so I'm not sure which horse that is. The chestnut mare, who looks angry, gave me a cruel look and refused to answer me when I spoke to her. In the afternoon, when she went out, Merrylegs told me all about it. He explained that Ginger got her name because she used to snap at everyone. He told me that Ginger had been treated very badly by her former owners, and because of that, she developed a very bad temper. Merrylegs had noticed a slow change in Ginger since she had come to Birtwick Park. John, the groom, who's the man who takes care of the horses, had been treating her with a special kindness, and Merrylegs was sure this would improve Ginger's temper. Wow, that was quick. This is chapter 4, and that's Blackie with his blinders on. Or some, looks more than blinders. Those are blinkers, it says. Chapter 4, Freedom. I was very happy in my new home, but there was one thing I missed: freedom. For over 3 years, I had all the freedom I ever wanted, but then, week after week, month after month, and year after year, I had to stand up in a stable day and night until I was needed. And even then, I had to stand steady and quiet, with straps here and there, a bit in my mouth, and blinkers over my eyes. All this was uncomfortable for me, but I knew this is how horses must live. But for a young horse full of strength and spirit, who has been used to a large field where he can fling up his head and toss up his tail and gallop away at full speed, it was very hard to get used to standing in a stable day after day. Sometimes, when I had less exercise than usual, I felt so full of life that when John came to take me out for a run, I could hardly keep steady. But John was always understanding and seemed to know have what it must have felt like to be cooped up in a small stable all day. As soon as we were out of the village, he let me run at a good pace for a few miles. On Sundays, the horses were given a few hours of freedom to roam in the fields. This was a great treat for us. The grass was cool and soft for our feet. It was a wonderful feeling to run and gallop as we pleased. So there's Blackie and Merrylegs and Ginger, free in the fields. It's kind of like your weekend, right guys? Finally out of school and free to do what you want.